Hi folks, this is your host Mandeep and I'm the developer of the Ultimate Trading Strategy. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of the Ultimate Trading Strategy, what it entails, how it works, and how I and 100 other users that are currently in my Discord room use this trading methodology for both day trading as well as for swing trading. The way this system is different from a lot of other systems that you see is that this is not an indicator, but rather an entire strategy for trading. And when you go and buy an indicator from a developer or from any of the websites, first of all, most of them will not give you what the results are of the backtest. How does the system perform on different time periods, and more importantly, under different market conditions. But in this case, one of the things that I provide is all the statistics up front, so you can see before you take a trade how well the system has performed, how many trades did it win, how many trades it lost, and more importantly, how much do you win on an average in a winning trade and how much do you lose in a losing trade. A lot of people focus on the win-loss ratio, and I'll demonstrate to you through some statistics that the win-loss ratio is not the most important thing, but what is more important is how much do you win in a winning trade, what is your average win and what's your average loss, and we'll go through that in a certain level of detail. Now, this system is predicated and built on a concept called multi-time framing. And with multi-time framing, what we do is that we always get confirmations from higher time frames. So for example, if you're trading on the 15-minute chart, you always want to see how those indicators are doing on higher time frames vis-a-vis the 30-minute, the hour, the 4-hour, right? So if you're trading on the day time frame, then you want confirmations from not only the day but 2-day, 3-day, and week. By getting confirmations from the higher time frames, you're really putting the probability in your favor. And in essence, that's what gives you an edge when either day trading or swing trading. Now, what I'll also do is I'll show you some of the key features and that the UTS has. What are some of the adjustments you can make? And so for first, let's just take a look at the system overall. So what I've done is I've used a slew of indicators inside the code, although for visual purposes, I only display a handful of those because of real estate limitations on your screen. But inside the code, there's about a dozen indicators, and those dozen indicators comprise of some common indicators like the Ichimoku cloud, the moving average convergent divergence. We look at the TTM squeeze, we look at some volatility indicators, we look at some momentum indicators, and we try and take a trade when these indicators all align. So since there are about a dozen indicators and we're looking at them on 4 different time frames, in entirety we're looking at something like 48 different signals to come together before the system makes a decision to put in a buy or put in a short signal. Now, when you're looking at a particular indicator or one or two indicators on your chart, oftentimes you'll see a conflict, right? And the idea of using your computing power is that you can put in a lot more checks and balances than what a human eye can discern, and based on that, we can look for certain thresholds above which you would go ahead and place the trade. So the important factor is that it eliminates the entire human emotions out of it, right? There's no guesswork behind this anymore. Do you want to be able to rinse and repeat using the same technique, the same methodology each and every day, right? So I have about 20 years of trading experience, and one of the things that I've always wanted to do was to automate the trading, right? So this is the only system that can be used by a range of traders, whether you're novice or you're a sophisticated trader. The sophisticated traders can take this and augment this with other trading signals that they like. The novice traders can just use as is, right? And more importantly, what I'll do is I'm also going to show you a methodology of how I approach my day trades. So before we delve into that, as you can see here that we have an indicator. In this case it's the Ichimoku clock, but we are looking at 4 different time frames. The smallest time frame always jives with what's currently on the chart. So if this is 15 minutes, the next one is 30 hour and 4 hour. If you ever want to see the detail of this, you can click on this indicator and you can see in plain English, if you're trading the 1 minute chart, then the next higher time frames are 3, 5 and 10. So you can trade this on the 1 minute chart, you can trade it on the 2 minute chart, the 3 minute, 5 minute, 10, 15, 30 hour, 2 hours, and so on and so forth, and you can trade it up to the day. Because you cannot you will not get a signal on a weekly chart if you put it on a weekly chart, because it's not possible to compute time frames beyond the week, right? So day is the maximum, but when you're trading on the day, you're anyway getting a confirmation up to the week, so you're in a good situation. So basically the idea is that when everything is aligned, then the top line is also marked as green, which means every signal is aligned. Now, of course, there's situations like this when you have conflicts, and those are things you don't need to worry, because the entire thing is encapsulated in what I call the buy and the sell signal. So this is the green up arrow is when you initiate the trade, and the C is when you actually close the trade. So this is just going long, closing the trade, and then you'll have reverse situations, and I'll show you that with some examples momentarily once I find those short trades. Like this is an example where you enter a short trade here and you close the trade here. Right now, this system also enables you to trade on 2 different styles. The first one is called a day trade. Now, in a day trade, what the system will end up doing is at the end of the day, even if there's no formal close, the strategy hasn't closed, it will still close the trade, and I'll show you a couple examples of that as well. So in this case, of course, the trade closed a little bit earlier, and hopefully we'll find a couple examples where, the trade really hasn't formally closed, but it'll give you a signal to close the trade at the end of the day. Now, this is for people who strictly want to day trade and who do not want to assume any overnight risk, right? But you can also switch this from a day trade to a swing trade, and in that particular case, the trade will carry forward to the next day, and and it'll be open for as long as the system doesn't close it. So the next thing to look at is we'll click on the beaker sign, and we'll take a look at some of the things that are adjustable in this setup. So the first 2 parameters, which are style and trading style MACD, you do not need to make any changes to. So these will stay as is. And here you have an option of a day trade versus a swing trade, right? So if the day trade is set to yes, it will close the trade at the end of the day. And the number of shares is the default number of shares that is used for computational purposes. And the show stats is where I display a lot of statistics up front. So normally I leave these off, but if you're analyzing this over a weekend, you can turn this on. So let's see what we're going to do here is we'll turn this on, and then we'll also leave the style of day trading and mark it as no. So one other thing I want to point out is that as long as you're trading on the 15-minute time frames and under, you can use it for day trading. But if you switch to the 30-minute time frame, then whether it's set to day trading or set to swing trading, it'll automatically default to swing trades. Okay, so let's just take a look at this setup now. We'll close this, and let's just switch to the bigger time frames for now. Let's take a look at the bigger time frames. Let's start analyzing some stocks and see how well the system has performed. So starting from here all the way to the end is the upfront statistics that I provide. So this is giving you the total details of the trade. So this is a day chart starting from the beginning of the year. So starting January of 2020 to the current date, which is August 22nd. So you can see the system had 4 trades, out of which there were 4 wins. In this case, there were 0 losses, and the win-loss ratio is 100%. Now, what is more important is this particular factor, right? What is it that you win on a trade, and what is it that you lose on a trade? So in this case, because you didn't lose anything on the trade, it doesn't give you any data, but you can see the profit loss was 22,000. Another way of looking at this data is by right-clicking on the up arrow or the down arrow, and then subsequently clicking on the show report, and you can see the same data that's available here as well. Right. So this data is showing you the trades that it ended up taking, and you can see all of these are wins. Let's take a look at other stocks. Let's take a look at some of the important FANGMAN stocks that a lot of people love to trade. So this is the result for Amazon. So in case of the Amazon, you had like 7 trades out of there were 6 wins and 1 losses. But one of the things again you see is that what do you win on an average in a trade? So you win about 13,000 and you lose about half on an average. So that's why, even if your win-loss ratio is close to 1-to-1, but if you're winning twice the amount in your winning trades, then you're coming ahead in your profit and loss. So again, let's take a look at that. And you had like a win of 1,600, 4,700, 27 grand, 973. And all the trades that you've taken, the system has timestamp those, right? So you can go back and look. So we can, some of these are marked here. So you enter the trade, close it here, enter the trade here, close it here. And there'll all obviously be some periods of time when there are no trades there as well, right? So just by looking at these stats, you have a big advantage in the sense that you can then discern and make an informed decision whether this is something that you would like to trade. Does it have the profit loss that you want to take when you enter a trade, right? So we can look at some other statistics as well. Let's look at other trades like Baba, right? So in case of Baba, as you can see, the win-loss ratio was actually negative in this case. Is one of those examples where the win-loss was only 0.6. But then again, your winning trades yielded about $1,300 and your average loss was $630. Now, if you just looked at this statistics from a win-loss ratio, then you'll say, well, this is not good. But you look at the actual profit, you've still generated $1,400 in this profit. Now, is this something that I would take on a day basis? Probably not, because 1,400 over 8 months is not something that I consider like a significant amount of profit. Now, one of the things you can do is if you're day trading and you can switch to a shorter time frame, right? You can now start to look at data on a shorter time frame. So let's just look at some stat. Again, we can look at lots of random stocks as well, things that I normally don't trade as well. And we'll get a good handle on how the statistics look like on these stocks. So here's an example of Amazon. So in case of Amazon, so this is a 15-minute, 30-day chart. As you can see, the system generated 21 trades, out of which 14 were wins and 7 were losses. And so the average win in this case is 3,000, and the average loss is 1,000, which is roughly a third. So this system generated a profit of like 27,000 in 30 days, right? So you can go back at 714 to 820, so a little over 30 days, and you can see again all the trades are listed, right? So this generated 35,000 in profit, right? That's how you can look at the system, analyze it during off hours, over the weekend, etc. One of the things I do is oftentimes I will turn these stats off during regular trading hours, right? Because this I can turn it to no. And then one of the things we'll do is we'll just turn day trading on. So we're just going to start looking at how the system performed when you're strictly day trading. So before we get into the details of that, let's just see how we typically approach the trading day. So one of the things that I do is when you get the system from me, you get these 5 lists from me. So there's a day trading short, there's another short list which is more intermediate, and then there's a long, intermediate long, day trading long, and a sector performance list. So let's take a look at the sector performance list. One of the things I do is I add a column called percentage change, and I sort these by the percentage change first thing in the morning. So just by looking at this, I have a good sense of where is the focus for the day. So the FNGU is an index for a lot of the tech conglomerates. It includes things like Tesla, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, Facebook, Apple. So a lot of the big heavy tech names are included in this index. So just by looking at this, so my focus immediately comes to Okay, so let me focus on the Fangman stocks. Okay, the next thing I'll do is, once I know that, right, now we can look at some other sectors as well. So there's this casino sector, right, which is the Dow Jones Gambling Index. There's XHP, which is the home builder sector. This is your technology sector. This is your railroad sector. So just like we can start to see in this day trading list, which by the way is a dynamic list. So this list is adjusting itself each day based on the market conditions. So this is giving you the best of the best stocks, right? Because these are the stocks that have been really outperforming the market, and this is where our focus should be. So look at a stock like Nvidia, and the first thing you notice, it's obviously included in that index FNGU. Second, there was a buy signal on that. And once the buy signal generated, you took a long position, and then when the close came, you closed it, which was around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you right-click on this and click on Show Report, as you scroll down, you can see that this generated a profit of $602, right? The other stock that I traded was Baba yesterday as well, or when I recorded the video, and you can see again buy signal on this and a close again around 9:45. So you essentially traded from 6:45 Pacific Standard Time to about 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, giving it about 4 hours. Right click on that and you'll see the actual trade. So this generated about 584 in profit in total in this one trade. Overall, this generated $1,400 in 17 trades starting from 7:13 to 8:21. So again, as I mentioned, that the XHB sector was also one of the top rated sectors inside the sector list. So in other words, when you see a focus on a particular sector, then you want to start looking at which stocks from that sector are in the day trading list, and then see which of those have a buy signal. So DR Horton was another stock. Again, just right clicking on this, it's telling you how much profit you would have made, 154, assuming you traded 100 shares. This generated 766 total profit in about a month. And the list goes on, right? So you can go ahead and start, looking at each of these stocks inside the list. Let's look at GoDaddy and see if it had a buy signal. It had a buy signal as well, which was profitable. Now, the other thing that I focus on is I end up eliminating every stock from this black line and do all the way to the bottom. So there's two columns, and from time to time I actually provide these also free for those who get the UTS system. And in this case, eliminate this because this is not as relevant here. So these two things are the most important things. This is the dynamic opening range breakout. So a lot of people like trading the 15-minute opening range breakout or the 30-minute or the hour. So this opening range breakout is self-adjusting. So in other words, after the first 15 minutes when you see one, it means that the second 15-minute bar is trading above the first bar. And then I start focusing on what is called relative volume. And when you see the relative volume, it is basically telling you when it is trading a factor of 2 to 3 or 4, that means for that time of the day, it's trading 2x the average volume or 3x the average volume. That's the kind of thing you focus on. So in other words, your focus list just becomes just from here all down to here, and the rest of them are discarded because these are trading at average volume and these are trading below average volume, and they're no interest to me. So here again, you got the same thing. Actually, you'll say, okay, I want to look at Nvidia. Did it have a buy signal? Yes. I'm going to take this trade because, of course, this currently is showing you volume at the end of the day. But, even within the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you'll start to see if it is trading above average volume. And that's the kind of things that you want to trade because that shows could be potentially institutional interest, could be crowdsourcing, retail trading, could be a combination of that. But what is really more important is the fact that there is an interest in the stock. It could be news driven, could be good results, could be something else. You don't need to spend too much time like looking at news, because when you're trading, you have to take quick action sometimes, and you just want to have a very, very focused way of trading. So in a nutshell, what we're doing is we're looking at exactly the same thing every day. We're not going to spend a lot of time after the market closes trying to analyze stocks. You can do it out of interest, you can do it for learning, but you really don't need to do it for making decisions, because the decision is made on the at the time the market opens, right? Because I have no idea at the time of recording. This is Friday, August the 22nd, what the market is going to do the following Monday. But when I start to see stats like this, right, that's all that is going to matter, right? I'm going to look for things that are green in the opening range breakout. They have high relative volume, and then I'm just going to start to get those trades and see, okay, I got a trade, not huge, but nevertheless a decent trade, right? And all of these, right, as you can see, because the home builders were ranked in the list, you have Toll Brothers, you have Lennar, and you have D.R. Horton in the list, and you have a bunch of these technology stocks as well. Now you can also look at J&J again. You go back and look, right? There was a buy signal, and it's on the list, and you take action on this, trade this thing, and at that time closes at a loss, a slight loss, or a break even, then so be it. But the important thing is that at the end of the month, you will end up being positive on these stocks based on the statistics that you see. So again, I can't predict future performance. Nobody can. But I've looked at this data from a historical perspective of like months and years in different market conditions, and it always seems to do well. Either case, there's no way to get a better edge than the ultimate trading strategy. So that's an overview, folks. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.